So this next little video clip is Karen and I preparing our first garden bed out the back of the shed. We didn't want to do too much work around the house because of the builders, but we've got this space out the shed which is a nice area. It's sunny and it's also protected from the wind. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to start our first garden. So in this video we're going to show you a range of things that we did, including dropping a little bit of shingle like Karen's doing, which is really good for drainage and helps us reduce the amount of mud that we're going to be carting around, especially in the winter months and when it's been raining. We're also going to show you how we developed our vegetable patch with the help of Jeff from next door, and how we did our windbreak fencing with the help of Andy from next door. So there's a few little topics that we'll be covering in this video. So on the property at the moment we've got 3 piles of dirt. These 2 piles here you can see are quite gravelly, but also quite good topsoil as well. We've got another much larger pile of really good topsoil behind the house, or to the south of the house. So at the moment I'm just filling up the wheelbarrow with topsoil and gravel, so we use that sort of as a base to level out some of the uneven ground that we've been working on. So this is the really nice topsoil that's at the south of the property. They dug all this out when they formed the base of the house, when they poured the concrete. It's really good stuff. We've been told that we could sell this if we wanted to, but we're not going to. So this was the first little herb garden created, but we've moved some of those plants out and we've put some other things. Today it's got about 8 or 10 pumpkins. So we thought this area here behind our shed would be the best place to start a garden. It's protected from the easterly winds, but we've got a lot of work to do first. So first of all we wanted to build a compost heap, and we got these free shipping pallets which are really cool, and we'll show you how we made those. We also wanted to build a windbreak fence system and a garden bed. So the next few minutes we'll spend looking through how we did all that. So using the free pallets that we got from town and a few of the waratahs that we purchased from Bunnings, we just really simply make a couple of walls and sledgehammer the waratahs in between the slats of the pallets. It's actually not too hard at all. You start off a little bit slowly with the sledgehammer. It's quite hard to manoeuvre, and once you get it down a couple of knocks, then you can start using the sledgehammer a bit better. No, I still haven't quite got it right. A little bit further. Karen helping out there. And as you get better and more accurate, you can actually lift that sledgehammer right up over your shoulder and bang it down, and become a lot more accurate in your hammering. We also screwed all of these pallets together as well, but we probably didn't really need to do that because these waratahs hold it together really, really well. As you can see, it makes a U-shaped container, and we dump all of our compost in the middle of it and let it bake. We've also got a bokashi compost system where we put our food scraps, and it breaks down naturally in that plastic bucket that Karen's just brought along. We put a spray on it, and the juice that comes out of it is really good for the garden. Here we are celebrating our very first farming achievement. Yay! Just to make sure it all holds together in the strong winds, we decided to also screw it together. So I went out and bought a whole lot of DeWalt tools, which are really good. And here's Karen with the impact driver, and we've pre-drilled the holes, and she's screwing in the bolts, or the screws rather, in between the 2 pallets to hold it all together. You can see the 2 screws she's put up above as well. So it was a lot of fun working together on this one. So this just shows how the waratahs are put in between the slats of the pallets, and it just holds the walls a little bit more firmly. This one here, you can see it's shaking around quite a bit because we don't have the waratahs there yet. And then when it was all done, we started to put our first bunch of compost into it, and it was quite windy, so we did just sort of put some cardboard over the top and some pieces of wood as well to hold it all together. It's going to take probably about 6 months for all that compost to start breaking down. There's not a lot there, we're just going to keep adding to it. Some grass, some cardboard, some paper, and the kabashi, whatever it's called, compost stuff as well, just to help move it along. A few days before we actually built the compost heap, we had a message from a friend of ours across the road she told us that we could go and pick up some vineyard posts from one of the wineries down the road. So we borrowed Jeff's trailer from next door and we drove down the road to one of the vineyards and picked up all these free posts. They're really straight, really strong, and really good, and really free. So we've got about 25 of them. We need to pick up some more to make some more garden beds, but we thought we'd make a start with this first bundle. So laying all the vineyard posts out on the ground and removing all the nails took quite a bit of effort, but it's really important that we did this because you don't want to be sawing these up with nails stuck in them. It can be quite dangerous. Didn't take us too long though, and before we knew it, we were ready to put everything back into the trailer and take it over to Jeff's place. And he was going to help us put it all together because he's got a drop saw, and he's also done this a few times himself. This is our first time doing this. But actually it's all very logical and quite straightforward, and we had, again, quite a lot of fun doing it. Of course, we didn't do everything in one day either. We did this over about a week. We thought what we'd do before we went over to Jeff's is we'd just lay everything out and get an idea of how big the screws needed to be, and how we actually wanted it to look before we started building the garden beds themselves. So we did actually spend quite a lot of time planning, which is kind of normal for us. That's what we do. We're both project managers, and most of a project, well, a lot of the project anyway, is about planning and getting it right before you execute it. And that's what we do. Through making mistakes, we actually learn. And this is one we have learned a couple of times, but we're getting there. You don't want to use screws that are too short, otherwise it won't go through. And maybe a bit longer. Yeah, maybe. Yep, that's the one. You can see it's going to go nicely into the wood, and it's not going to come out the other end, hopefully. We decided we'd chop off the pointy parts because we want to make the garden bed nice and straight. Karen making good use of a very good screw there to scribe where we're going to do the cutting. Measure, measure, and then measure again. That's another lesson we've learned. But we're getting better. Our neighbours, Jeff and Jill, have been really good to us. They've allowed us to come over and use their tools and equipment and experience. Jeff and Jill have been living here for about 4 years, and he's done this on quite a few occasions. So he was really useful in helping us get the idea of what we needed to do. Yeah, it's quite exciting actually watching it all come together. We had a really nice afternoon with Jeff and Jill. Slowly you can see the shape beginning to form. This is what it's going to look like. Getting everything square is actually really important for the final finish of the job. Neither of us had ever actually screwed anything so large before, but we both had a go at it, and we're both really good at it now. Just a little bit of practice over time, and we'll get there. Again, Jeff's experience and knowledge has been really helpful. Yep, and away she goes. No problems. First time we do this though, there is a little bit of a kick towards the end, and it can give you a bit of a fright. After building the garden bed, we decided where we were going to place it. This didn't take too long. You can also see the waratahs that are put up. That's the start of our fence line as well, and we'll show you a bit more of that a little later on in this video. On another really nice beautiful day, we did a bit more work on this. So you can see Karen's putting some plastic around the garden bed while I'm digging out the area that we're going to place it. I dug out a few footings as well, so the garden bed would sit flush to the ground. It actually took us a lot longer than I expected, but anyway, we finally got there, and this thing's really heavy. We had to lift it in and out quite a few times because we didn't quite get the footings positioned in the right place. But eventually we got there, and we slotted her in nicely and almost flush to the ground. That plastic lining helps with holding the moisture in as well. But slowly we got there. It wasn't quite right at this point. We had to come back and dig a little bit further down. Once we got it all settled into the right place, we put some dirt back in and patted it all down and made it nice and neat. You can see there's a little bit of sunshine flowing in through the bottom there, but that's okay. That's what the dirt's for. It can be really dry here in Wairau, so the next thought was irrigation. We've got a hose or a tap on the other side of the shed, and we ran this hose all the way through. We've actually changed this a little bit now, and we've run the hose through the back of the deck. Nessie was always great help as well. Eventually we got there, and this is how it looks at the moment. So we've got a really cool percolating soak hose which just dribbles out. It's got thousands of little holes in it, and it just sits there and dribbles out. Does a really good job. So we were sort of doing about 3 projects at once: the compost heap, the garden bed, and the windbreak fence line. Our neighbour Andy came across to show us what he had done, and he taught us all the little tricks that he'd learned. So you can see the number of waratahs there. There's a 2x4 which helps take the strain, and then there's the wire that has to go through the 2x4s, and then the strainers themselves. So there's quite a lot of work involved, and it took us, I suppose, quite a few hours just to learn the basics. But as soon as we had the basics underway, we were fine, and Karen and I finished the whole job on our own over about a 4 or 5 day period. It was really neat.
Oh, I didn't get the wire. I've got it.
Yes, I've got them, Karen.
Oh, good.
They're in the wheelbarrow.
Oh no, they're just there at your feet.
Yeah, there we go. So we wire up from here diagonally to here, and we have a strainer or a reel in here which will tighten everything up.
And it's amazing because it's just a loop over a loop.
Yeah.
And it holds. Incredible, really.
Oh, they're bloody good, aren't they?
Andy's knowledge was really valuable. This is Andy and Karen putting the strainer for the first time. So cutting the wire is not a lot of fun. It'll be the least enjoyable part of the experience. It's very hard. So that just loops around that screw there. We actually replaced that screw and got a bigger one. And then the tensioner or the strainer takes on the tension, and the 2x4 holds it all together. And then it's the fun job of rolling out the windbreak material, which actually wasn't too bad. And then it was all up to us. Just the 2 of us over the next 4 days. We got the rest of the fence line done. And so here's the finished product, or at least the first fence line. and we've only got another 3 to go. So Karen put those black plastic tube hoops over the top of the garden bed, and I came out and I screwed in some holes, or pre-drilled some holes there so we could screw in some wooden batten across the top. And that just helps give it a little bit of structure so we can put some netting over the top of the whole garden bed to prevent the birds from getting in there and eating any of the fruit. It seems that every time we do anything out here, Nessie has to be with us. And here's the finished product. We haven't got the netting over the top of this at the moment, but you can see the hose running in there. The plants are coming away. We've got a couple of nice chairs to lounge on in the early evening when it's nice and warm. Compost heap, we don't generate enough compost really, but it's slowly taking shape, and the fence line itself is all done.
So that was a little video of us creating the garden bed, the fence line and the compost heap. A couple of people have asked for a little update on the house, so I'll do that next. It's got the roof on now. We'll have a quick run around how the building's going. I've got the shipping container here, and we've got the Kubota tractor as well. We might put another little video together with a bit more information on those things as well, and how things are going inside the shed as well for us. So we've made the shed into quite a nice little home now. So if you enjoyed this video, then please hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up if you liked it, and any comments or feedback would be much appreciated. Thanks.